I mean, Pat, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the show?
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sonny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and you it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
Imagine scrolling through your morning headlines when you stumble upon something unexpected. Sonny Hostin's husband, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, caught in a legal scandal involving insurance fraud, illegal kickbacks, and connections to a massive RICO lawsuit targeting a so-called white-collar crime syndicate in healthcare. ATIC, short for American Transit Insurance Company, alleges that Dr. Hostin and his network recommended unnecessary surgeries and inflated claims, potentially raking in millions while exploiting patients. However, ATIC isn't without fault. They faced accusations of dodging claims and underpaying doctors. Dr. Hostin's lawyer argues that the lawsuit is baseless, viewing it as a desperate attempt by ATIC to divert attention from their own issues. This situation is bound to get messy.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance.
Dr. Hostin is accused in a lawsuit of prioritizing profit over patient care, allegedly pushing patients with minor injuries into unnecessary surgeries for larger insurance payouts. Claims even assert that some surgeries were fabricated, billed but never performed, leading to real victims coping with the pain of recovery for procedures they didn't need or that never happened.
Like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it. But the notion that we are in a violent country, this country was built on violence.
According to ATIC, the operation involved recruiting vulnerable patients, performing unnecessary procedures, inflating insurance claims, and cashing in. Dr. Hostin allegedly played a key role in this scheme, recommending unjustified surgeries for personal gain. However, ATIC also faces scrutiny for denying valid claims and stalling payouts, raising questions about their motives. Dr. Hostin's legal team labels the claims as meritless, suggesting ATIC is using the lawsuit for a PR stunt. This case reveals troubling issues in the healthcare industry, where trust can often be compromised.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's
Now, while Dr. Hostin is fighting it out in court, another name in this saga is raising eyebrows: Sonny Hostin. She's known for being loud and opinionated, especially on The View, where she doesn't hold back on calling out public figures. But when it comes to her own husband's scandal, crickets. And her silence isn't just noticeable, it's deafening. For someone who spends her mornings passionately debating everything from politics to pop culture, this sudden quiet feels calculated. Is she protecting her image, waiting for legal advice, or just hoping this whole thing blows over? Whatever the reason, it's not a good look.
It's always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange for the kickbacks.
Enter Joe Rogan. The podcast heavyweight didn't waste any time tearing into Sunny. His take? Hypocrisy, plain and simple. On his show, he called her out for what he described as moral grandstanding, saying, Sunny Hostin loves to act like she's the moral compass of daytime TV, but when the scandal's in her own house, radio silence.
Saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
yeah.
it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
And Rogan didn't stop there. He went for The View, calling it a festival of bad takes and hypocrisy, adding that Sunny's silence only proves how disconnected Hollywood elites are from everyday people. His audience? It absolutely ate it up, with viral clips circulating online, dragging Sunny in the show.
Their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. But arguably, like the fans, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like they're probably immobile.
Right.
The gamble for Sunny is this. While staying quiet to avoid feeding the fire, she's risking her credibility in the process. Viewers are already divided. Some think she's playing it smart, while others see this as glaring hypocrisy. After all, she's never hesitated to speak out about other people's scandals. So why is her husband's case off limits? And let's face it, The View isn't exactly thriving these days. The show's struggling to stay relevant in an era where audiences are fed up with preachy daytime TV. Rogan's takedown has only amplified what many viewers already feel. These hosts are quick to throw stones but hide when the glass starts cracking in their own lives. Sunny's silence might protect her for now, but Rogan's right. If you're going to lecture the world about morality, you'd better keep your own house in order.
And they're talking about threatening him with insurance fraud. I would say you could get about 20 years in prison, so that's a death sentence for him.
Sunny Hostin's silence and Joe Rogan's critique may grab headlines, but the real focus is a massive legal case that could impact the healthcare industry. The RICO lawsuit implicates an astonishing 180 defendants, including doctors, medical practices, and hospitals, all allegedly involved in a corruption network. Patients are caught in the crossfire, having trusted their doctors only to discover that necessary surgeries may have been fabricated or unnecessary, leading to a profound sense of betrayal in the healthcare system. Attic claims to have been defrauded out of millions, yet their own record raises questions about their motives, with accusations of denying claims and underpaying doctors. This lawsuit highlights a fractured system where profits often overshadow patient care, leaving those who trusted both doctors and insurers to bear the consequences.
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit, okay? Now, let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this. About
Let me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Twites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread insurance fraud.
Let's be real, this scandal isn't just about one doctor, one insurance company, or even 180 defendants. It's about exposing the deeper cracks in America's healthcare system. If these allegations are true, they highlight a system where trust is a commodity and patients are just dollar signs. Think about it. People go to doctors expecting care and honesty, but this case suggests something darker. Financial incentives driving medical decisions. Unnecessary surgeries, fake procedures, inflated billing. It's a nightmare scenario for anyone who's ever set foot in a hospital. And the worst part? Patients are left to deal with the physical, emotional, and financial fallout. But here's the kicker. Insurance companies aren't any better. Attic, the so-called whistleblower here, has its own skeletons. They've been accused of denying claims, underpaying providers, and dragging their feet on payouts. It's a vicious cycle. Doctors exploit the system for profit, and insurance companies retaliate by cutting corners. And guess who's left to pick up the pieces? The patients. What this lawsuit exposes is a system that's broken on both sides. Doctors and hospitals are chasing profits. Insurers are playing defense. And the result is a healthcare industry where trust is almost impossible to find. Here's the bottom line. Whether this lawsuit leads to reforms or just more finger-pointing, one thing is clear, it's a wake-up call. Patients deserve better. They deserve a system where their care isn't just a line item on a financial statement. The stakes in this lawsuit are incredibly high for Dr. Hostin, the other defendants, and Attic. If the allegations prove true, many could face ruined careers, revoked licenses, and even jail time. For Dr. Hostin, it's a potential loss of his hard-earned reputation. This case transcends monetary concerns. It's about trust and accountability. For Attic, a win might restore their financial standing, but a loss would damage their reputation as a fraud-fighting insurance company. The healthcare industry also has much to lose. This lawsuit highlights the need for change, whether through stricter oversight or overhaul of financial incentives. Importantly, the patients affected deserve answers and better protection over profit margins. As for Sunny Hostin, her silence may haunt her in the court of public opinion. Ultimately, this lawsuit raises a critical question. Will it lead to meaningful reform, or will it simply exemplify greed in a flawed system? The public is watching, and the outcome remains uncertain. Subscribe and ring the bell. We'll keep you posted on the most recent proceedings of this case.